morning, everyone. So it is now Monday, which means that my spring break is officially over and I am going back to school. That also means I am starting a new week of reading vlog. I'm still working on trying to figure out how to style my curtain bangs. I'm not quite there yet. Anyway, yeah, so because I'm going to be going back into school this week, this reading vlog for this week will probably be a lot more grad school oriented, and I'll be taking you all along with me throughout my classes and my class readings more specifically. Since today is Monday, I have a class later at around noon, but today the class has been canceled in person, so we're going on Zoom because my professor's sick. So after my class, I have a chiropractor appointment, and then I have to go grocery shopping and study a lot more for the LSAT today. But that is the agenda for today. So now I'm just gonna go make some coffee, do a little bit more reading for the book that we're reading for class, which is Daughter of Earth, because I'm not actually quite finished with the book yet. So hopefully I can finish the rest of it today. And then I'm gonna go over my weekly reflection essay that I wrote for this book for this class. And yeah, let's get to it.
Now the thing about this book, which surprises me, focuses almost exclusively, which is one of the most important events, I think, in the history.
My class just finished, which means I can finally officially conclude that I am definitely not a fan of Zoom classes because it's always just so easy to get distracted during them. I have my computer screen right here, and then I have my phone and my cat, and it's just like I just can't pay attention nearly as much as I could in person when I'm really engaged and in the zone in the classroom. But anyway, here are my notes to show for it, so I'm glad that's over now. I actually really love this class. It's called Social Reproduction Theory and the Global Proletarian Novel. We mainly focus on books, novels, and theory that focus on working class women. We look at the ways in which novels such as Daughter of Earth by Agnes Medley is able to kind of do a certain type of theory that is not necessarily just theory, just nonfiction. And I really appreciate that this class alternates between fiction and theory. So for example, last week we read How We Get Free by Kyanga Yamada Taylor, and this week we're reading Daughter of Earth, and then next week I think what we're reading is, I can't remember which one exactly, one of these two books. So this one's Portraits of Chinese Women in Revolution, also by Agnes Medley, and then this one is Patriarchy of the Wage by Silvia Federici. This class has been super challenging for me in the best way possible. Like I really feel like I'm pushing myself to think more critically, think deeper, which is really all I could ever wish for in a class, especially in a graduate seminar. The plan now for the rest of the day is I will probably continue reading just so I can finish off Daughter of Earth, because I always feel bad if I don't finish the books that I have to read for classes. And then I am going to do some YouTube editing for my vlog from last week, and ideally have that up by the end of today. And then I have my chiropractor appointment. Okay, so I'll see you later.
손끝 사이로 네 맘이 내게 온 건 어쩔 수 없지만 What can I do? 배지를 돌려놓고 펜만 손에 쥐고 있어 I'm sick and tired 이렇게 세상이 가고 있어 Tell me what you wanna do
Tuesday morning, which means it's been a few days, I think, since I last made a talking clip. Here I am with my coffee, and I'm just gonna fill you in on my reading, what's been going on, classes and whatnot. So on Tuesday, I had another class, and this one was in person. And this class is on Plato's Symposium. So literally the entire semester, all we're doing is reading the symposium along with other secondary texts and then discussing it. The class is definitely, it's interesting. I don't love it, but that's honestly just more because I'm not particularly interested in Plato or the ancient Greek philosophers nearly as much as I am with more contemporary philosophers. And the professor, he's a very sort of old school traditional type of professor. So even though this is a graduate seminar, he still kind of lectures for the vast majority of the class. So it's just not my preference, the style of the class or the content, but I do think the professor is clearly super knowledgeable about what he's teaching. So yeah, and the reason I'm taking this class in the first place is because it's a required class. Not the content, but there's like a whole core curriculum, core professors requirement that we have in comparative literature. And yesterday, Wednesday, I had work. And then today, on Thursday, I have a class later in the afternoon at around 2. It's a year-long class where we are reading collectively In Search of Lost Time by Marcel Proust. The entire volume, I don't know if you can see it on my bookshelf there. So this is the set, and I'm in my second semester of the class, which means we are nearly done. And I just finished The Captive, so this is like 2 volumes in one. Next up, I have to read The Fugitive and then Time Regained, and then I'll be done with all of In Search of Lost Time, which is mind-blowing to me because this is a novel that I've been wanting to read forever, but never really thought I would ever get to in my lifetime, to be honest, because it's just so daunting. So these lovely editions are the modern library editions, and I'm obsessed with them. I just think they're so gorgeously designed. One day I'll probably make a whole video on all of In Search of Lost Time. But for now, I want to talk a little bit about The Captive. The main gist of In Search of Lost Time is that we're following the narrator, who is really Marcel Proust. There's really no name ever given for our narrator, except for I think one time he does gives like the hypothetical of, oh, if my name was Marcel, that kind of thing. It's his coming of age in a sense. We start with him in his childhood, and then as he grows up and as he moves from Paris to these different places like Belbec, things like that. And then a lot of it is about his romantic explorations. More than that, I think this book has a lot about art, what makes good art, has a lot about time and memory and how memory functions, because this is written in the 1890s, so this is around the same time as Bergson, the philosopher who writes a lot about memory and time as well, and he's mentioned a lot in here. And from what I know, I think Proust was in correspondence with Bergson, so they knew each other. Proust kind of knew everyone. There's a lot about sexual jealousy, specifically in The Captive and The Fugitive. In The Captive, Marcel, our narrator, has his beloved Albertine. She is his captive, and he just keeps her inside because he's so afraid of her infidelity, and specifically her having sexual relations with other women. So there's a lot of fear around that, a lot of hypocrisy with him with that, because he himself is not faithful. But there's a lot of like moments where he's talking about how and he does a lot of these sort of universalizations or generalizations where he says the only reason we desire someone else is because we do not possess them. And so the moments in which he feels like he possesses Albertine, he no longer really loves her. So there's a lot of interplay between pain and pleasure. When you feel a certain level of pain, you actually derive some pleasure from that as well. And there's also a lot about jealousy fueling desire and things like that. And I really, really love his characterizations of these things and the way he writes about them so compellingly. even if I don't necessarily agree with all of it. It's just so artistically done. He has these moments where he's like looking at the world, right? Or he's like in a carriage, like in this instance, and he's just so struck by the beauty of all these small little details. And I think this is the great wonder and beauty of Proust, right? Like, the reason people love him so much is because he's able to show you he's able to aestheticize the little things. He makes the little tiny moments in your everyday boring life beautiful. If you hear the crunchy noises, that's my cat. Yes, I'm talking to you. His way of describing the most mundane things, like looking at the moon or looking at a cityscape, and yeah, it's just stunning. Anyway, so that's where I'm at right now. I definitely do have a bit of a love-hate relationship with this novel because it's taken me so long to read, but it's also been really rewarding, and I'm really glad I'm taking a class about it, because otherwise I think I would have struggled a lot more. Last week I also mentioned that I was reading Daughter of Earth for another class, that I'm, what would you say, this is like 60% maybe? 65% done. I'm planning to finish it because it is actually quite good. I've been really interested in these sort of novels that write about a political awakening, a political consciousness arising, and like coming to terms with the world around you and learning theory first and foremost through life experience before actually reading any academic theory. And then the next book I have to read for this class, Social Reproduction Theory, that I've mentioned on Monday, is this novel. It's also by Agnes Smedley. It's called Portraits of Chinese Women in Revolution. And so Smedley, she moved to China after she published Daughter of Earth, actually, and she lived there for I think like 5 years. I might be wrong on that, but she lived there for a really long time, and she became very politically involved even in China. Come here. Come here, baby. What do you think?